I'm so grateful for another day to help stimulate the mental. Time to strategize, huddle up, where's your circle? I can feel the movement radiate through the convo. Talk is cheap, turn your faith into work. I drink my second cup and put my hands in the dirt. 2 cups, drinking straight drip from the earth. Caffeinated conversations, you heard them here first. One for the wake up. One for the wake up. 2 for the work. Caffeinated conversations, you heard them here first.
Welcome back to 2 Cups Cafe. I am your host, Alan C. Jackson, aka 2 Cups, who I got coming through for quality caffeinated conversation today is my main man, Nathan McAllister, who has insight on financial literacy, wealth building, and has a crazy backstory I'm just excited to get into. What's up, Nate?
What's up, Alan? How you doing, man?
Oh, I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well. It was so good, man, to reconnect with you a couple months ago, man,
Yes, it
and
was.
just kind of reminisce on some times. I got my start actually in broadcast, and you trained me at Sky High School. We had our own radio station. I ran the midday blues excursion. I was on from 12 to 1:30. That's when I learned about Muddy Waters and all those type of guys, man. It was surely a blessing, man. It was so great to have you.
So great to be here, man. Thank you for having me on your show.
No doubt, man. For all my listeners and my viewers, man, if you could just give us a overall background on yourself and how we come to this point of intersection.
Okay, well, I was born in Toledo, Ohio. Local guy, educated locally.
Yes,
Come
sir.
from a family of educators and people who are active in the community. I decided sometime in high school when I was going to the beautiful Jessup W. Scott High that I wanted a little something different in life.
Okay.
So I began reading and studying, and in 1993, June of 1993, year after graduating high school, me and a couple of buddies jumped in my 1989 Buick Regal, and we drove to New York City, and it opened up a big world for me. During that time, I lived a great life. Was able to get a couple of record deals. Got into promotion and marketing, which led me to other things. And then sometime around 1998, I decided to move back to Toledo to be a dad because my son was born in January of 93.
Okay.
And I said I had to come back. So I came back, got into the car business.
All right.
Because I needed to find something that was going to make similar money. So I did the car business for 20 years and still produced music on the side. Did all right. Went through some ups and downs, and I found myself late in my career living in Atlanta, Georgia, being a manager at a Nissan lot.
Okay.
And I was selling people 24.99% interest rates.
Yeah.
And we were slanging a lot of cars a day, right?
Okay.
I had one particular lady who told me she couldn't afford to buy the car, but couldn't afford not to buy the car.
Right.
She had a high car note, $500 a month on a $13,000 car. At that point, I realized that I was going the wrong way. It's not something I wanted to do. And God blessed me where I was able to get out of the business 3 years later.
Okay.
I kind of searched around, got into real estate, did a couple other things, still messed around in music, and then I found that I could get into the financial services game, which I went on and got licensed because I was seeing people in the entertainment business make hundreds of thousands of dollars and millions of dollars and have nothing to show for it within 5 or 6, 10 years, just same way with the athletes. So I searched around, got a little experience, and then I decided to go to the #1 insurance company. Here I am, and my goal is to help build more Black wealth because I think that's one thing that our community is missing. Because if we had more money, I think that we can reduce some of the problems that we have in our society.
That's powerful, man. Like I said, being you connected on some business a few months ago, man, and it's been working out real good for myself and my family, man. And I just appreciate you being here. So, like, I use coffee as a metaphor, right? So I call myself 2 cups, and it's one for the wake, one for the work. The wake is meditating, stirring up the gifts in you, your ideas, your dreams, your visions. And I know you have a lot of dreams and visions for our people, as far as African Americans and just people in general. You like to see people win. That's one thing I know about you. Every time I talk to you, every time we engage, you always looking to encourage somebody to do better. You know, you might make a few dollars, but what I get from you is that you want to see everybody do better. You know, no matter where they are currently at, you feel like they could do better. I don't know if you could talk about like some of your endeavors that you got going, man. You blew my mind when you showed me about something you had going on in Africa. And I had never met nobody. Are you allowed to talk about that?
Yeah. A few years back, I started realizing, you know, after being invested in real estate here in the United States,
Yes.
I saw that being a landlord was a full-time job, right? And I didn't see the riches that everybody was saying, right?
Okay.
They was like, basically people say, oh, invest $100,000, you're going to pull out $1 million one day. Well, the people don't tell you that one day is 20 years down the road, right?
Okay.
And it's not bad if you have a passion for it, but I didn't have a passion for being a landlord because I don't want to evict anybody. And going through the pandemic, I had to evict quite a few people.
Okay.
Just, you know, somebody's collecting a lot of money because, you know, all the money that was on the street, somebody decides not to pay their rent because the government, because they don't have to.
Right.
So when they're damaging your home, you know, you're losing, right? So there was Clubhouse came out. I don't know if you remember the app.
I know Clubhouse. Yep.
So I got on Clubhouse in the beginning, and it was everybody on there. You know, it was all these people, new ideas came. And one guy said, while we're trying to invest our dollars in America, why don't we look overseas? Overseas, who would ever think that? So me and my significant other had been talking about Ghana, right?
Okay.
And because, you know, we had the year of return, so it's a big thing, right?
Yeah.
Sexy. And after I did my research, I found out that Ghana really wasn't a country for me to invest my dollars in. Because of us Americans have gone over there and made it more expensive to live in Ghana than it is in New York City.
Wow. Okay.
Okay. A lot of people don't realize that is that when they first talked about going in for every dollar, we were at one time getting 11 cedis, which is their money.
Okay.
Now it's down to like 6. Okay. It's been fluctuating a bit, but we Americans, we went over there and we kind of abused our privilege. Women were going over there getting their hair braided for $12 American, and they were tipping the ladies $100.
Okay.
So now the ladies aren't charging $12 American.
I can get more than that.
Yeah. I wanted 50 cedis. Now I got to get 400 cedis because we've reset the market. Rent's high there. If you want to live in certain communities, you know, you're going to spend. So we said, no, I don't want to do that. Plus, you know, it became a cliche. So I made a friend in East Africa, Uganda.
Okay.
And we talked for a year, right? Just conversating. I picked up a job working for a hedge fund, and I put some money in Uganda for a program we were doing there. And these guys took $3,000 and made it look like I gave them $100,000. I said, y'all going crazy for $3,000?
Okay,
right?
yeah.
So then I started doing my research and found out that I could live in Uganda, same lifestyle I live in America for less than $1,000 a month. Matter of fact, I'd be a king, right?
Wow.
I could have maids, servants, a driver, you know, have my Range Rover, you know, live the life, right?
Yeah.
So one conversation led to another. There was an opportunity. I was told that I could buy some farmland. They hooked me up with an attorney. Long story short, I
So you
bought a farm. I bought a farm.
A farm like a farm?
Like old McDonald. Okay.
Okay.
Old McDonald. I got cows and chickens out there, corn and everything like that. I got 9 people working on the farm. Salaries come out to about, I think it's about $2,700 American, USD. Now that farm is breaking even.
When you was going through that process, like, were you like nervous? Because this is like on a whole nother continent.
Yes.
And like you were not like physically there.
Yes, I was scared. But I knew I had met the right guy in Uganda.
Okay.
He's from the right family. Like I got a chance to, this wasn't just a quick, you know, I meet the guy on Monday. Like I got a chance to meet this guy and like he's part of the right family in Uganda.
Okay.
Like he's connected to the president, right? So after you do research and then I'm on Clubhouse and we go in these rooms, these Uganda rooms, and the girls be like, Ram, how are you doing? I'm like, And one woman said, "Oh, you don't know who he is?
Like, that's the guy right there.
Yeah,
huh?
he's the guy, right? Because his uncle was the man. So,
Okay.
So it just became a thing of trust. They like the way that I'm straight up and deal with them, right? Because we're Americans, right? We do business differently,
Right.
So I went over there and I speak to them in terms of empowerment.
Right.
We speak to them in terms of using their wealth.
Yeah.
We speak to their terms of everything good, right? And so they responded very respectively and happy, and it came about. Now, is my farm making me a lot of money? It's not making me a dime,
Okay.
but I am feeding nine families a month.
That's beautiful.
Okay,
And it's self-sustaining.
it's
at this point.
self-sustaining. I'm not doing
Yeah.
anything. I've already spent out the money, right? The great thing is that we're going to Africa in December.
Okay.
God willing, I'll get a chance to meet the president of the country because we're looking to try to do some greater things there. They like how I'm working.
If I'm not mistaken, you was talking about you had citizenship over there, working on
Well,
it?
we're working on citizenship, dual citizenship, because do certain things inside the country, I have to be a citizen.
Okay.
Okay. So for people that may not know, is that Uganda and East Africa, they call it the Pearl, right? Very fertile land. It is the number one place for feeding refugees in the world.
Wow.
Okay, so the UN gives them money to feed refugees. All refugees is one of the spots you go through. You're going to go through Uganda, right? They have gold there, and they have their own refinery. So they've already spent the money. They have oil there. They have their own refineries. So unlike most African countries that have gotten gold or oil, they
Right.
send it to Dubai
Okay.
to be processed, and then Dubai sends them back a check. Uganda was so forward thinking that 30 years ago they sent the brightest people away to colleges, and those people are now coming home.
They came home. Okay.
They're coming home, and they're setting up their own, and they haven't made deals with the Chinese.
Okay.
So for us as Black Americans, we have an opportunity to go to a country that's, doesn't have a lot of corruption, right? And cost of living is still low, and now you can see those big gains. Like if we invested $100,000 in Uganda in 10 years, I'll see $1 million.
Okay.
I'm not even questioning that.
Right.
Right. Because it's just a growth factor. Right. And that's when we talk about wealth is a lot of times we follow trends.
Okay.
Right. Like to buy an apartment building in Los Angeles, it's kind of crazy when you're only going to get a 3% return every year. Right.
Yeah.
That's kind of bad. Where I can get a 12% cap rate in Toledo. Wow. Or Columbus, right? Or I can go to Orlando and get an 18% cap rate. Why would I invest somewhere where I'm not going to make any money?
Right.
But we go, we have been taught to go where everybody else is going.
Right. Or it looks good. Yeah.
It looks good. It looks good to you. And that's how we usually end up getting got with our dollars, right? We're putting our dollars in places that we don't know. Now, I'm not going to tell everybody to go make that. Go invest money in Uganda. I'm going to tell you, go hop on a plane first and make sure you want to go there because there's other great countries. You got Uganda. You can go to Rwanda, who's the safest and the most advanced country in the world.
You said Rwanda?
Rwanda.
Now, we had PTSD about the movies that we watched about Rwanda. Mm-hmm. But you was able to see it bounce back?
It's past bounce back. It's, the NBA put their African basketball league right there in Kigali, right there in Rwanda.
Oh, that's
In
beautiful.
Rwanda, having internet is just as common as having it right here in Toledo, Ohio,
that's
right?
beautiful.
Their internet is actually better than we have it here in Toledo, Ohio, right? And then if you're a woman, they run the country there. They are in all the high places, and you can start a brand new business in Rwanda in less than 8 hours from start to finish. There's no corruption, right? And you are given opportunities because you are you.
Right.
Just because you have the God-given ability or you've worked hard for, there's no seniority, no union. You're going to go by your own merits.
So they get a chance to know who you are and decide whether they're going to let you come over there and do what you need to do, just based upon the one-on-one and knowing your track record.
Yep,
No
things like
red
that.
tape. No red tape.
No red tape. I don't have to sit up here and pay a mafia or somebody that's sitting over a business. So I'm invested in Africa, and I think you and I had talked about it.
Right.
I suggest everybody. There's more countries than Ghana. Okay, I can name 20 or 30 of them right now that you could go to, but there's tons out there, and it's a beautiful place.
Right.
Okay, the most expensive thing we're going over there in December. It's going to be our plane flights.
Okay.
Okay, that's the most expensive part. Once I get there, I could feed me and you could take $300 and spend 2 weeks, and that'll cover our food.
Wow.
And we're gonna eat like kings,
Wow.
right? We're gonna stay in the best Airbnbs for $70 a night. Beautiful places, right? Because the U.S. dollar goes a long way, right?
Right.
It doesn't, we can rent a brand new Range Rover and have some guy drive us around for what we would consider McDonald's money, $40 a day. Some guy be, driving us $40-$50 a day. He's driving.
And not even feel like he was being taken advantage of.
No.
He doing well.
No. He's doing very well. He's happy for us to give him that $50 American a day, right? And when we go to some of these countries, we don't see how far the dollar goes, right? And, but there's another side to it. Don't decide to go to Africa if you don't have any wealth built up or you don't have an income stream.
Right.
But with today's technology, hell, there's 5 degrees that you can get. Well, no, not degrees, certifications.
Okay.
That you can get for less than a year and make over $100,000 a year and sit at home. That's why these young people are traveling the globe.
They traveling. I've been seeing them on
You know what I'm
YouTube
saying?
and
We
stuff,
seeing them all the time. We didn't have that opportunity.
Right.
What was our opportunity? You go work at Jeep, go to college, right?
Yep.
Maybe
if you messed up a little bit, you get to travel because you go to Job Corps. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
or if you messed up real bad, you got a chance to go on Con-Fed, right?
Yeah.
Right. You on Con Air, you got a chance to go on Con Air. That was a choice for some people to travel, right? That's the reason why, as a child, I chose something different because as a child, I read going to Luxembourg and Belgium and all these places in Italy and Spain and Korea and South Korea and China and Thailand. These places are very, very attainable. Do you know that, my son is 30 and I'm trying to introduce him to the passport lifestyle, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Got his passport coming. First thing he said, I'm going to Bali. $1,600 round trip to go to Bali, but him and his boy can stay there for a month for $500. That include lodging, eating food, having little mopeds to rent, kicking it, right?
Right.
So he's like, $500, that's all we need for a month to take our basic living needs? He was like, well, Dad, why am I doing here? I said, that's my question. Traveling is the biggest wealth that you could ever have, right? And I don't think that we do it enough.
Okay. I heard you mention that your parents were educators, so you feel like they were able to instill in you, because you talk about reading and just being able to comprehend it and coming from a smaller place, but being able to think outside of where you live at. You think that that's something that came from your upbringing?
Well, I think some of it did. And my parents, I was raised by my grandmother, my grandparents. My grandmother was an educator. My grandfather was a brick mason contractor. My father was a street guy. Okay. My mother was just an average, everyday working. Nobody special, just average, right? But the one thing I can give my father is because he went to Vietnam, he struggled. He dropped out of high school. He dropped out of school for 5th grade. Yeah. He said, I ain't had no education, so I couldn't get no money more than working. He says, the harder you work, the less money you made. That was the first lesson he said. See that guy digging the ditch? He working hard, ain't he? He making, back then it was like $2.50 an hour. Right. There was a guy sitting up in the truck. He said he getting $5 an hour. Now this was the 70s and 80s. Right. That's a lot of money back then. Right. But he says the guy that's down in the ditch making $2.50. He says, son, that's what I got to do. Right. I work at he's working at Jeep as the janitor. Right. Like he was like, I work hard for my money. Right. Right. And he says, the foreman sitting up in there, he don't work hard. Son, I want you to be the foreman. I want you to be a corporate lawyer. I want you to do something. I want you to be rich. And then I was blessed. My grandmother, my grandparents, both their family, they came from a little money. Okay. My grandmother, her father was ran the first school for African Americans in South Carolina, along with his brother. And my grandfather's side, they were plantation owners. One generation, his grandfather married a black woman, story, but they had money from that way. Okay. So I was blessed to come from two sides that weren't average. Okay. Right. My grandmother, her grandmother, Ma, was on the cover of, was in Time, was a Life magazine back in the 1800s. She was a slave. So I've been blessed to come from people that's wanted things and have had things.
Right.
So I think it was instilled in me innate. But I also was lucky enough that I had a father that was in the streets that didn't want the street life for me.
Right. Definitely.
And I had an uncle who was in the street. I had uncles who were in the street life. So I got a chance to see it. And I was lucky because I was smart. Everybody said, no, you don't have to go this way.
Right.
You remember years ago, if you had a path, people didn't try to, you know, I remember the older guys would say, no,
Like,
Nate,
that's not
you
for
smart.
you. Right.
We want you to be the lawyer to get us out of jail. And that was the joke in the neighborhood growing up. Nate, you're going to be the rich one.
Yeah.
And so that kind of like stuck with me my whole life. You know what I'm saying? I wish I had the knowledge now that I did 30 years ago.
Right, right.
But you and I wouldn't be talking. I wouldn't be able to help people like I am now. You know, it took from going from having a lot of money to no money, right? For me to understand that there's more to life and that you have to have a certain empathy for people, right? I believe that before I fell off, as I call it,
Right.
I believe that God had to teach me empathy. And by learning empathy allows me to sit here and be able to be humble enough to learn so I can help my people and help everybody. Like you say, I'm just trying to help people.
Right, for sure.
You know what I mean? Because, I mean, we don't have nothing left to give but a legacy, bro. Nobody's going to remember me. Nobody's going to remember Nate. They're going to remember what Nate did or what I did for somebody else. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of times we get so caught up in that we forget it's not about us.
For sure. And when you was going through all your trials and your tribulations, man, like I say, we ran back into each other. You just as vibrant and upbeat as ever. But when you was going through that, like what were you holding on to as far as like, I had all this money, I lost it all. But you know, that sent people into a dark place a lot of times.
Man, I was dark. I mean, I would think I went through some of the darkest days that you can probably imagine. You know what I mean? Like,
so was it connected to like not attaining the money, or was it the fame? Was it the success? Like what you think
it was having nothing.
Okay.
And feeling like I didn't have an opportunity because I felt like I was stuck in Toledo. Just, you know, and I want to set the stage for people. You know, imagine you're a straight A student, you don't lose all the way through high school, right?
Okay.
You don't lose, right? Anything I wanted to do, I just did, right?
Okay.
And then I do the impossible of hopping in my car and going to New York and getting hooked into the entertainment business, the rap business back in the 90s, right? And just kind of fit in like I was in a big high school, right?
Right.
And then to achieve stuff and then come home and make decisions, you know, good decisions. Say, I'm going to come home and try to be a dad.
Yeah.
Full time, you know what I mean? I'm not going to do this part-time stuff. And then, you know, to go and different things happen. Life happens. You know, life is going to life, right? And then you can't do anything about it, right?
Yeah.
And then you try to get up. Then you get up again. You getting your life together and you got it. And then in 2004, you know, I got wiped out in the stock market. And then the world crashed down. You know, a lot of people don't remember that when the world crashed down that first time.
Yep.
And then just imagine, just as you getting up again, you go through this period of being broken. I won't call it broke. I was broken.
Okay.
Right? And it was a dark place, but it helped me to understand what other people had gone through before me. You know, the guy that was the alcoholic when I was young, you get a job, bum. But to go through the circumstances that got him on that corner,
Right.
you know, or the guy that's smoking crack, you know, oh man, why would you do that? But there's circumstances that led to him to smoking crack. And I've never been a crackhead, right? But I've been low like one.
Right.
Where having 35 cents or 50 cents meant something to me. You know, for a man that, you know, I look back and say, man, I remember, oh man, I'll never be broke. And then you go broke and you like putting 50 cents together to go buy a Black and Mild.
Right.
You know, you don't know how broke that is when you got, you know, 25 pennies, a dime, 2 nickels,
Right.
and an excuse for the other 5
You
cents.
get up there and they don't want to take your Canadian nickel.
They don't want to take it. And the guy behind you that you've been knowing your whole life says, what's wrong with Nate? Here's $1, man. Go buy you 2 Black and Milds. And then you're so low that you don't even want to look him in the face. Friends are coming to you to try to be friends, and you can't even. I couldn't even concentrate on friendships. I lost friendships because I rated myself on something that very fleeting, money. Mm-hmm. I didn't know who I was. I thought everything had to be connected to money. And now that I know, that's the greatest sign of poverty is, there's nobody wealthy that worries about money, just poor folks.
No, I feel you on that, man. So, like I said, the 2 cups, one for the wake, one for the work. What kind of blue sky, big ideas that when you wake up in the morning, you just, sip your coffee and look out the window, like what comes to your mind, like you would just try to see, what you try to achieve, like?
Man, honestly, I think, for me, it's trying to create more wealth in the world in my community. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? It's taking John Joe, right, who works a job and saying in 20 years or 10 years, you can have this much money.
Okay.
Right? Okay, buddy, if you do this for 7 years, you're going to have this.
Right.
And once you have this, I can take you to this. And once I take you to this, I can have you to this. Now you've created generational wealth. That's what gets me up in the morning.
Okay.
I'm excited to call people and people be like, oh, you just trying to sell me some life insurance. No, if you want to buy life insurance, call State Farm. Mm-hmm. I'm not here to just sell you death insurance. I'm here to try to sell you life insurance. I'm trying to show you how the law was set up so that you can benefit.
Okay.
And then there's other products I can sell you, but what I try to do with people first, let's take care of your basis. That's what gets me going in the morning.
Yeah.
How can I make Alan Jackson's life better?
I like that.
You feel what I'm saying? How
sure.
can I make this guy life better? How can I do this? How can I do that? How can I help others?
Right.
Because I've realized to get more of what I want, I have to give people more of what they want. My job, what I do now is that I don't benefit unless you benefit.
Right.
Because it's not about a commission. The company that I work for, and we're not going to talk about who I work for. You can always check me out. But the company I work for, we focus more on the long term because we've been in business for 178 years, right? We're the bedrock. Banks are going out of business. We're not going out of business because we don't have an owner. We don't have stockholders. When you, the policyholder, invest, either do a life insurance policy, annuity, or whatever, we got your money. Right. And we're here. We're trying to see you get where you gotta go because that's where we win. It's not by just making a buck on you. It's by you continually making money with us.
Sure.
Right.
For sure.
So that's like literally this is my passion. I work at Scott. I'm helping some kids at Scott. I do an entrepreneurs program because I didn't have somebody when I graduated at Scott to show me the way. So
so you're saying you're doing some instructing right now on entrepreneurship over there?
Yeah, just basic. I'm exposing them into stuff. I'm showing them how to do proposals. They're going to do how to do a joint venture, how to open up a drop ship company.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? I think everybody should know how to open up a drop ship company because everybody can open up one. Look, you got merchandise now. Beautiful cups. You selling T-shirts. If you don't know how to do that, then somebody needs to show you how to do it.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
You can make money at home.
Yep.
And that's what I preach to people. I'm preaching to these kids, but I talk to people. If you talk to one of my clients, the first thing you probably hear, hey man, what's other ways you trying to make some money?
Yep.
That's the first thing I asked you, remember?
Yep.
Past products. Okay, you got a few things going. You looking at making some money some other ways?
Right.
And you was like, well, okay, well let me know. Because even if I don't know, I may know somebody, or I might know somebody in that industry.
Right.
Right? Like the guest you had on, like you had another guest in here, and we were talking about somebody I know in LA that do the same thing, that does the same thing they do. Like, man, I introduce y'all. Somebody says, well, man, what about you getting out of it?
Right.
I ain't worried about what I'm gonna get out of it, because what I'm finding is that the more good I put in the world, the more it comes back. My grandmother, Maddie McAllister, a known teacher in the city, I always wondered why she would just do good for people.
Yeah.
She would just do good. Like she did up until the day she died. She was helping people in ways that I would have told them no.
Right.
But she told me it always comes back. And she's right.
Reap what you sow, right?
Man, look, man, do you know how it is? I was sitting up yesterday working on my website, and a lady called. She said, hey, what's going on? I need to put some insurance on my mama. Then one conversation led to, you can do all that? Oh, well, come on by Friday. So she started off with just putting some insurance on her mother, but she found out that she had some extra money from a job she had that's just sitting in a 401k.
Okay.
She ain't making no money with it. So I said, oh, yeah, we can help you with that. We'll figure it out, you know. You know, if I can't help you now, I know I can be able to help you in the next month or so. Don't worry about it. I got you.
That's beautiful.
And so she's like, she was shocked. But I put that seed out there 40 years ago.
Right.
Right. She says, well, I felt, it's other people selling insurance, but I felt I could trust you. So a 40-year-old seed has come back. I remember, I was always good to her as a kid.
Right.
Never, and then, I see her out. Oh, here's my card, but I didn't badge her or nothing. Yeah. But it's coming back.
So
right?
let me ask you this, like, from where you are now, like, what can people do? Say somebody's listening to this or watching this. What can people do to help stimulate that type of mentality? Like, I know you're doing your part as Scott, but what, in the perfect sense, in a perfect world, like, what kind of resources would you need available to you to kind of like broadcast it out and get more youth involved, or even people our age involved? Because, a lot of people our age think it's too late.
No, it's not too late. No. It's too late when you take that last breath when you go home to see dad. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
But as far as, it's really just educating yourself and being open. You know what I mean? Yeah. When somebody's telling you you're wrong, just listen. I told a client that just got her tax refund. She got a nice tax, and she got a profit sharing check from G, right? So she got about 18, 19, 20,000. And she said, oh, Nate, what should I do with it? I said, okay, and I gave her some very unconventional answers.
Okay.
I said, how much credit card debt you got? She was like, I got about 4,000. I said, okay, so pay that off. And she was like, why? I said, because that's 24.99%.
Right.
There's no investment that I can sell you that's going to equal that. She said, okay, well, I'll pay that off. So I got 15 left. What I do? I said, you paid off your car yet? She was like, no, it's going to pay off in 2 years. I said, how much you owe? She said, about 9,000. I said, what's the interest rate on it? She said, 12%. I said, pay it off. I said, there's no investment that I can give you that's going to be 12%. She was like, oh, well,
now she feels like she don't no money.
Yeah, she was like, I got 3,000 left. What am I going to do with it? I said, okay, what do you need in your life? She was like, I need a stove. I said, well, buy a stove. I said, now you can cook at home. I said, you've been complaining about you couldn't cook.
Right.
I said, buy a stove. And so now we down to like $1,000. She said, what do I do with that? I said, put that in the bank and don't touch it. Forget about it. She was like, well, that's all my money. I said, but you didn't freed yourself from 2 unnecessary debts, right? So you're still going to have those 2 payments, payment for the credit card and the payment for the car that's no longer going to be coming out. Now you bought yourself a stove, so now you got a reason to cook at home. So that's going to save you money. She said, how much that's going to save you a month? So we did the numbers. She's going to save $800 to $900. She's going to have an extra $800 to $900 a month. Now we can invest that $800 to $900 a month into something. Yeah. You see? So now she's like, oh, that makes sense. I said, see, because you're going to go to work at G regardless.
Right.
You're going to work.
That's powerful, man, but just for her to have that understanding, that trust with you, though, to walk through that process, because I know, just a lot of people want those instant results. You know?
The biggest thing that we can tell them is to not want. You know what I mean? God didn't put us here to want.
You gotta be content. Huh?
Yeah, you got to be content with something. Yeah. We both have little extras, right? But sometimes we need to cut the extras out.
No,
I
agree.
heard you tell your wife, well, we just got to cut back in a couple of areas. Your life ain't Mr. B, has it?
No.
Yeah. And that's how it is for most people.
Yeah, I'm on a sneaker fast right now. I haven't bought a pair of sneakers in 2023, and
okay, that's something for you, right?
That's something for me.
Well, I bought my first pair of sneakers. I hadn't bought one for a year and a half, 2 years.
Okay.
I bought me a pair of Nikes, and I paid about $60. I think it's a good purchase, right?
Yeah.
But I'm coming to a different understanding of how money works, because I know I'm gonna keep these $60 sneakers for about a year.
Okay.
All I got to do is just, put a little towel on them, and they're going to look good for a while, right? Because I ain't working out in them, right? Right? Because that's why we buy new shoes, because they wear out or they get a little dirty, right?
Right.
So, I learned from buying very expensive sneakers that I wipe them off. I like a certain brand, but I like to wipe them off so they always look brand new, right? Those little big things like that conserve, right? If I don't need to spend it, why should I? Like, I had a client that told me, I bought my daughter $6,000 suit, but she don't want me in her house. Why did you buy it? Why would you buy something for somebody that don't want you in their home?
Right.
Right? I said, if you had held that money, what could you do? She's like, I could do a lot. Exactly. And that's what we do. We've been taught to spend.
Right.
It's not we don't keep up with the Joneses. It's a little different. The Joneses own their house. That's forgot, right? Now we're trying to keep up with Shanae on TV, who has everything rented. And from my former life, let me sit up here and tell you, people don't realize how many of these people we watch on TV that everything's rented. I lived that life. You would see me out years ago. There was a period of time you see me gold on, diamonds, popping out the latest, the greatest. It looked like I got everything, but I don't own nothing in the picture.
Don't own nothing.
In the morning, I'm taking the gold chain off, putting it back in the thing, and I'm returning it to somebody.
Right.
I'm returning the watch. Maybe I might have had one or two pieces that might have been mine. Right. But do I treated that stuff like it was Fort Knox, right? And some of it was fake, right? And so it looked good. So there was somebody who was looking at me that thought it was real and that I really owned it. But in actuality, I was renting or leasing it. Right. For a short period of time while you're buying it. You're buying it and I'm leasing it.
You're buying something. Yeah, that I don't even own this, but I'm giving you a perception of something that you breaking your neck going in debt to get. And at the end of the day, I just gave it back.
I gave it back. I don't even own it, right?
Yeah.
So we gotta start looking at what's real and what's fake. Yeah. Right? What's live and what's Memorex, right? And then another thing in my journey, I work with a legacy rap act. Okay. Who I would tell you right before the pandemic, this is my 14-year-old dream. I'm working with Eric B. and Rock.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Proud of the leader.
And I'm sitting up here like, oh yeah. At 14, I said I was gonna work with him. Okay. So now that I'm working with him, I got a chance to see behind the veil, and like these guys made millions upon millions of dollars. Right. And I love him. Eric is like my big brother, right? Okay. Eric taught me the real, and he showed me a lot of things. He showed me, what if I had invested my money for 30 years? If I had took that $50 million we made in the 80s and invested it, what would I have now? And I ran some things. I said, it'd be worth about $300 million. He was sick, just sick, right? But he's had a great life. Eric doesn't care nothing about money. Right. Rakim, they don't really care about money like that, even though they say they paid in full, which they are. They still got a lot of money coming in. Right. But they looked at the money, and Eric said, man, there's so many people I could have helped. Because he feeds about 1,000 families every week. Okay. The Third Baptist Church in Queens. Okay. I got a chance to see it, and I was like, wow, you do this every week? He was like, yeah, I believe in helping those that's hungry. Yeah. He says, it's not all out of my pocket, but I organize. He said, if it's short, then I got to come up with the shortness. Okay. Right. And I see him, I done been with him on trips, but he's the one that taught me, working with them taught me a lot on what we as Black people are missing. Okay. Because just a short time, like Eric would tell me, Nate, we don't recycle clothes. I saw him give a $5,000 jacket away to Fat Joe. I wanted it, right? That's one reason I was mad. But he gave it to Fat Joe. It was $5,000. I said, well, damn, Eric, you didn't give away 4 of these jackets in the last 2 years. He was like, Nate, it's just money. It's just clothes. I wore it already. And I said, well, Eric, if you had taken that $5,000, he says, that's not what I do. He said, well, do you know how to do this? And I said, nope.
Oh.
But that was the most serious question. Do you know what I could do with this 5,000 to make it more than what it is now? And I didn't know
At that time.
And I didn't know.
Okay.
And then I was managing a rapper, and he got $500,000 cash, a little young 20-year-old guy, and I couldn't tell him what to do with it.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And Eric's like, well, talk that stuff to him. He really need to save the money.
Right.
He was like, I got my money. He's like, this $500,000 might be all he ever see. And I didn't know where to go.
Yeah.
And I just learned from that. And that's, once again, that's what brought me here, because Black wealth is something that we need to normalize.
Yeah.
It is okay. We can be wealthy.
Yeah.
Rich is measured in dollars. Wealth is measured in time. Meaning, if you had $10 million and your lifestyle cost you $200,000 a year, that's 50 years worth of living.
Right.
Right. Rich just says, I just got so much money. Right.
Okay.
How do we get wealth? Right. We get wealth by investing in those things that will pay longer than the useful life of it.
Okay.
So a car will never pay you, right? It just won't, unless oh man, I buy classics. Okay, then that's cool, but then you got to find a special buyer that got cash to buy a classic car, right? Because we're not financing it. Capital One ain't gonna give me no loan for it,
Right.
Real estate can be a good one, right? But if you're not paying attention to the game, like everybody wants to go where the houses are pretty, right? And I don't blame them if you're just trying to do a quick flip. But if you're trying to go long term, you may need to go where the houses are a little cheaper and maybe the neighborhood isn't as nice. But would you rather buy a $20,000 house, you put $20,000 in and rent for $900 a month, or would you rather spend $100,000 and get $1,200 a month?
Right. Exactly. I know where you're coming from.
You see what I'm saying? It's about always looking for value, right? Like we talk about buying sneakers, right?
Right.
It took me a week to buy a pair of sneakers.
I remember. Check it out.
Yeah, I'm checking them out. Like, man, I gotta get the right color. Am I really gonna like this shoe? I went and tried it on, and somebody would say, "You made a lot of fuss over $60." No, I'm not making. It's not the $60 I'm making a fuss over. I'm making a fuss over the purchase. Will this purchase last me a year? Now I'm going to go buy another pair. So now I got $120 and a couple pair of shoes that I'm going to keep a year or more. And I'm going to enjoy wearing them. They're going to be comfortable. I feel like I'm getting my money's worth. Those are the differences.
No,
we laughed at the guy that bought the New Balances, right? The old man 11s, right?
Yep.
But the Monarchs are comfortable and they last a long time. You know what I mean? You get a pair of New Balances, they're going to last. You're going to spend $80, $90 for them. You're going to keep them a few years, right?
For sure.
You buy certain kind of cars, right? It's sexy. It's real sexy to buy a Dodge Charger, right? It's real sexy. But the Dodge Charger is junk. It's not going to be worth anything in a few years.
No, because they're going to hammer it anyway.
Yeah, I mean, most people buying them second degree level. They're going to buy second or third owner. They're going to have problems. Just everything, higher insurance. Or you could go buy a Toyota Camry and drive it for 20 years.
For sure.
You feel what I'm saying? My homeboy, he got a 2011 Camry paid for. And I said, you going to buy a new car? He said, no, why? He just hopped in the car and he just drove to Pennsylvania and didn't think nothing about it.
Right.
It's not sexy, but guess what? It works. And now he got this extra money in the bank that he's not throwing away. Now I'm not telling everybody to go out and get an old car. I'm not telling you to do that. Right. I'm just telling you we need to just look at our values.
Right.
What's worth something to us so that we can be like other people, other communities, and get maximum value for our dollar.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense, man. That's why I brought you here, man. I just love the conversation, man, and the fact that you took time out of your busy day to come and have a cup of coffee with me, man, means a lot, man. It means the world to me.
Coffee pretty good.
Yeah, and you can, being a special guest, that cup, man, that's yours, man. Every time you look at it, man, I want you to think about me, man, and put me in your thoughts and prayers, man, because I'm looking forward to going with you to Africa one day. Well, I'm putting that out there. I want to go.
Well, look, let's go, baby. I mean, we going to December. If y'all wanted to go in December, you can go. We're leaving December right around the 20th of the month. We'll be back right after the New Year.
Okay.
We're going to see about 3-4 countries.
Okay.
Cairo, Uganda, then we're gonna go to South Africa.
That sounds great, man. We can talk offline, and if I can't make it in December, I want to be ready for the next time you run over here.
Hey, listen. Whenever I go, you're always welcome to come.
Appreciate it.
Because you got the right kind of attitude, right? And the thing is, I think that the reason why I was excited about doing your show, because like minds, we should be helping each other in any way we can.
Sure.
Know, because you love your family.
Definitely.
I love my family.
Definitely.
Right. And there's somebody watching this show, you love your family too. And because we all love each other, there's no reason why we shouldn't be connected. Now, we don't have to talk every day.
Right.
But we should be all connected, because that's how the greatest opportunities come. Because you may say, man, I got an opportunity to do such. I need a little help. Oh, man, I think I can help you a little bit. I got a 401k too.
Yeah.
I got a little money on the side. I
sure.
can go grab, right? And that's what it is.
Okay.
You know, because when I went through my darkest days, I didn't feel like I could connect to anybody.
Okay.
Because even though my pain was the same as everybody else,
Right.
you just feel like you're in a cocoon. So
Thought you was by yourself. Yeah.
yeah, and that's what we got to remember when people that we love and know are going through stuff, they feel alone.
Right.
And sometimes we got to grab them and say, it's okay. I believe in you, and I'm going to help you get up. Don't put money in their pocket. I'm going to tell you this. Don't you hurt them more, right?
Okay.
This is the lesson that we all got to learn. If you see somebody who's hungry, feed them. Don't give them cash. Feed them. Because they may not, because in their desperation, they may not spend the money where they need it to.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Definitely.
If you know this young man needs to get his driver's license, you know, I've taken people that's straight out of jail and taken them to go get their ID and paid for it.
Yeah.
Somebody said, why don't you just give them the money? Because I wanted to make sure they got their
it,
ID, right? You telling me you can't do nothing because okay, let's go on over here. You got your birth certificate? Okay, let's go get your birth certificate. You got your social security? Okay, cool. And I took the guy, got him his driver's license. We got him his state ID, right? Just got out of jail. Fed him and didn't think nothing else of it.
Yeah.
A few months later, he rolled down Huron Street. Hey, man, thanks, man.
That's beautiful.
In a short period of time, he had changed his life, not because Nate just shoved $30, $40 in his face. I took him.
Took the time out.
I took the time to say, okay, you telling me you can't get a job because you ain't got an ID.
You like, let's go.
Let's go. Let me run in the house and let me go ahead and get there. Because it was nothing.
And that's the second cup concept, man, the work.
Yeah.
That's the implementation. That's going beyond just dreaming up something. That's going beyond, we have these grand ideas, but it starts from, like you said, like you took the time out and took that guy and invested in him more, like you said, more than the $30, $40. Now he's in a position where he's self-sustaining himself, and he waved out the window at you going down the street. Now you have like you said, that connection or that togetherness that you were talking about.
Yeah.
Like, I just didn't throw a couple dollars at you.
Yeah.
I took some time out, found out your name, found out a little bit about you, told you a little bit about me, and then now y'all have that connection, man.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
And the great thing is that if I never talk to him again, he gonna pass it forward one day. I know to somebody,
Definitely.
right? I don't know who he gonna pass it forward to, but somebody's gonna be affected by that.
Definitely.
And that's the greatest gift that you could ever give. One that keeps on going.
Definitely.
Now, can I suggest a couple of books for people to read?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I would be remiss to not suggest a few things to people if you're interested in changing your financial life. The first book I would tell anybody to read is The Richest Man in Babylon. They do have an audiobook version that you can hear. You can hear on YouTube for free. They got a 4-hour and an 8-hour. Please.
And if you got a library card, you can get on Hoopla, and you could download. You check out books on digital and audio, just like it's from the library. They'll send it to your phone, and then when you're done with it, or your 2 weeks is up or whatnot, it'll just disappear, and then you can just recheck out stuff just like the library. Don't cost you nothing.
That's dope. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Another one is going to be Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yeah.
Great book. Great book. And a third one I always like to suggest. It's called The Alchemist.
The Alchemist?
Yeah. It talks about our journey.
Okay.
It helps us to understand. You can read that one first. It depends on the person. Some people I tell them to read first, when they are our age, right? I tell them to read The Alchemist first. The Alchemist had me to understand that my journey was one that I had to go on to find my pot of gold.
Okay.
You know, I had to think about it. I've lived, you know, people don't know this, but I've lived Detroit, Atlanta, South Carolina, Arizona, New Orleans, Denver, Las Vegas, Los Angeles, Chicago, a couple other places, some minor times, but I've lived around the United States, right? Lived on New York, LA, that Atlanta thing. And I came all the way home to find the love of my life.
Yeah.
Right. One of my first treasures. And then the second treasure was I found my calling.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So I had to travel the world and see the world and come back here, and it had to make sense to me because what do they tell us when we're growing up? It is all a straight line. You go to school, get good grades, you get a job, you retire at 60, you be rich, you get a Cadillac, and then you die at 90 with everybody laying around you. Life don't work like that, right? It's really a zigzag, right? But that zigzag is the journey, and that journey right there is the one thing that it helps us to find a lot of things. It helps us to learn a lot of things. It also allows us to be able to share to other people because you're right here in your part of the journey. Look, I didn't already been through that, man. Let me show you how to get through it.
Exactly.
Then you be like, oh, man, I went through that. Man, I done did that. And then that allows us to share. But success is not straight line. And I work with some guys that are very rich.
Yeah.
And ain't none of them had a straight line to where they was at.
Definitely.
So those 3 books, if you can find something out of those 3 books, the one thing is learn about your journey. The Richest Man in Babylon is going to teach you a way to do your finances.
Yeah, think about your money.
Yep. Yeah. And then Rich Dad, Poor Dad has you look at the overall financial picture on how money's made so you can learn which quadrant you are in and which quadrant you don't want to be
also
in.
deals with the mindset, too, when looking at it. Yeah, definitely.
That's just like, look at your mind state. You doing everything, bro. You on that Rich Dad, Poor Dad majorly.
Oh, man. We don't give away too much. No, we
don't talk about too much. We don't want to,
man,
bro.
But once again, man, I appreciate you coming by, man. This conversation, man, it's gonna keep going because me and you gonna keep talking offline.
Yes, sir.
And once we go to Africa together, man, I'm definitely gonna let the people know, man, and have you back so we can talk about it.
Well, they say like you come to Africa, just bring your camera with you, right?
Yeah.
And you need to do a lot of videotaping, and we're gonna have a good time no matter what it is. And we're going to experience some new cultures.
Yes, sir.
And then you're going to come back here with a renewed sense of what your worth is and how you could help the overall continuum of everybody.
Definitely, man. I can't wait, man. I can't wait. Like I said, man, we having quality caffeinated conversations over here at the 2 Cup Cafe. I want y'all to keep listening in and keep tuning in. It's my man, Nathan McAllister. We're going to be back with you. 2 Cups.